afternoon. Welcome to Life Chats with Maggie and Bunny. I'm Maggie.
And I'm Bunny.
Well, today we are going to step into unknown territory and talk about something that neither of us like to talk about publicly. I don't
Yes.
even like to talk about it privately.
Me neither.
So we're going to greet the elephant in the room
Yep.
for the beginning of 2025 and have just a conversation about our world.
hmm
The
Political climate, that's what we'll say.
political climate is a nice way to put it. The
Yes.
climate of our country,
Yes. And our fellow country neighbor to the south.
our fellow countries.
Yes.
So, just to warn people ahead of time, that is what we're going to talk about today and just see where it goes. Because, as always, Bunny and I never plan ahead.
Yes.
We decide 5 seconds before this podcast what we're even going to talk about.
Yep.
So, this is what we're going to have a conversation about. And we did say that, this year we want to have some impromptu conversations that are just from the heart of Maggie and Bunny.
Right.
So, that's what it's going to be today.
We're gonna push
So,
ourselves, expand ourselves a little bit more and see where it takes us and where it
become
goes.
a little more vulnerable, become a little
Yes.
more open.
Yeah.
And it's hugely vulnerable for me to talk about politics
hmm
because I try to stay as far away from it as I possibly can.
Right.
Not that I don't vote, I do vote,
hmm
but part of the reason that I try to stay away from it is, quite frankly, I think is corrupt.
Yeah.
There, I said the word.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
think that
I,
for the
I,
most part, politicians who have been in it a long time, I'm not
hmm
saying that all politicians are like this,
right.
not at all. But I do think that lifelong politicians tend to have their own agenda, and it's got very little to do with me.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. That's just
Yeah.
little Maggie's opinion and why I kind of stay out of it.
Yeah. And yeah, and and like I have noticed, like, again, the same as you, I do vote because I do say that the only way you can, like, complain or make any commentary is if
Yep.
you're in the process. Like, you can't comment on something that you're not part of the
Right.
process, right? I mean, you can, but I feel like, you can only do that really if you're actually doing it.
Right.
And so um in, without saying who I vote for or where I lean, although people could probably guess, would be like, for me, I personally like to want to pick people, leaders who are more inclusive, more expansive, more, think more of about the community as a whole and the people as a whole. And I don't know that I see a lot of leaders who are doing that, who are the popular ones,
Right.
right? It's more the less popular people who are in that kind of vein.
Yeah,
And so that's a little disheartening for me. But
it
even,
is. It's hard.
sometimes going, like, in our own case of our own, the two biggest parties in our country, is I'm almost like, I don't like the leaders of either of those parties. So it's like it gets to the point where you're like, it's choosing between which one of them is a little bit better than the other instead of which one is the best.
Well, and I can even take it a different spin, and I fully will tell the
hmm
world, as I am right now, that in my lifetime, I'm 65 years old, and in my lifetime, since I was able to vote, I've probably voted for every party
Yeah. Yeah.
at one time or another.
Right.
Because of, like you said, it's because I believe you're supposed to vote for what you believe in and for what you feel is right for the country.
Right.
And the problem is why it has become more difficult for me over the years is I'm no longer voting for who I think is the best.
Right.
I have started now that I'm voting for who I think is the least likely to cause harm.
Right. And that's kind of an
And
icky feeling when you're
it's
voting.
icky. It's
Yeah.
icky. You
Yeah.
know, it's almost like I'm voting for the lesser of two evils.
Right.
Like they're
Exactly.
both evil, but who's less evil?
Right.
Who is going to hurt the country less? And
Right.
And is that how it's supposed to be?
Right.
No, but we live in a democracy where, thank God, we get to vote.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank
And
God
women too,
we get
right?
to vote.
We
Yes,
it's been not about 100 years since women were even able to vote. So
right.
that,
And
we're
I think
thankful.
for me, what I see happening in our countries, both of them,
Hmm.
the major closest to us countries,
Yep. Yep.
what I see is sometimes in life, things need to get really bad before they can get really better.
Hmm.
And I've experienced that in my own life, with other people in my life, with my children.
Right.
And sometimes things in life have to get pretty shitty
Yeah.
before people choose to do something different,
Right.
before people decide, you know,
This isn't
things have to
working.
change.
Yeah.
And I think it's been that way throughout history,
Right.
that things have gotten really bad before they got better,
Right.
because we wouldn't know what better is if we didn't have bad.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the for me perspective in these things, is that you get the contrast of like, oh no, we really don't want that. Right?
Yes,
And so it's like, oh, I really so when you say you really don't want that, then what you say as the for me is you say that means, hey, thanks for that, because now I know what I really do want.
right.
Right?
And
So,
and that's kind of my 5 cent take
yes.
on the political climate right now is,
Right.
I really don't want any of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want any of that. I
Yeah.
wish we could just flush the toilet and and let it all go down and start
Right.
out fresh.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think we have to go through this process
Hmm.
of things being really bad.
Yes. I mean, like, yesterday I watched a video, and a lady was talking about how when you are when you're going, the way that she uses like a boomerang. And so when you're going up, when you're going into, because it doesn't necessarily have to be up and down, but if you're going into the light,
Yeah.
if you want to go really far into the light, you have to pull that boomerang, or that not boomerang, the what are those
A
called?
bow and
Slingshot.
arrow.
Slingshot, yeah, or a bow
Oh,
and arrow.
slingshot.
A slingshot or a bow and arrow. Yes, both of those, same thing. You're gonna have to pull that really far back. Well, where are you pulling that into? You're pulling that into the darkness. So when you're
Yes.
pulling that into the darkness, you're gonna see all the shadows. You're gonna see all of the dirtiness, the darkness, the things that we've been hiding in under the rugs and under the floorboards.
Right.
That's where you're gonna see. Now it was always there. We just weren't looking at it.
We don't look at
So
it.
yeah, so now you're seeing it. Now it's like in your face, which is again a for me perspective from the universe
Yeah.
of like, this is there. Do you still want this? Is this weighing you down, or do you want to make a change? So you're pulling in, and then when you accept that darkness and you say, yeah, that's a valid choice. It's just not one I want. It's not my
Right.
preference. I'm going to go this way. And so then you fling it back and you go further into the light. And I feel like that's what's happening. Like
Right.
when I feel into the situation, I'm not scared. Like I'm not scared. I know there's a lot of people who are afraid. They have the fear about it. I will say this, I do believe that with our mainstream media and even social media, the goal for those companies that own the mainstream media or the social media, those platforms are about money. And how they make money is by the advertisers. And
Right.
why the advertisers pay them is for your attention.
Right.
And so you have to be paying attention. And what is the biggest thing that's going to grab you is
Trauma
trauma, fear, and anger,
and
right?
disaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that's going to keep you watching,
Right.
and then keeps them getting money. And it's
Which I
not
will confess is why I don't
right.
watch the news.
Exactly. I don't watch the news either. Now I do have social media. We are on Facebook. I go on TikTok. So I do see some things, and I
Yes.
am informed. There are things that I do know who our prime minister is, who our leaders are. I do know what their ideas are, their policies. I might not go into every little detail, but I do know about what it is that they're
Well, I
doing. And
think I think, and I'm
yeah.
going to say this, I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know things about our government right
Well,
now.
Well, I mean, when I was a
both
kid,
in
I didn't
both.
pay attention, right?
I
So
know, but
yeah,
where as a kid, you're kind of not
yeah.
thinking about that. But I mean, I think literally it comes up everywhere. Like I
Right,
said, it at the pool this morning at,
right, right.
for my fitness class, people were talking about it.
Hmm.
You know, what do you think about the whole Elon Trump
Yeah.
romance? And I'm
Yeah.
going, I don't really care.
Right,
But
right,
it is a topic of conversation
right. It is. It does come
because
up. Yeah.
it's everywhere. It's
Hmm.
everywhere. And unless you're living on under some kind of rock, you're not going to not hear
Right,
about Trump or Trudeau. At
right.
this stage of the game, everybody is talking about one of those people.
Well, and even like I talked about it, and now that we pre-record these, so by the time it does come out, this may have already happened. But even the fact that in Ontario where we live, is that our premier is possibly going to be calling an election before the federal one because you know Ontario kind of like we have an influence over our federal election, and like very often if we have one party in our federal, that same party is not our Ontario premier very often. So he's trying to get in because he is a conservative before the possibility that we're going to have a conservative federal. He's going to
Right.
try to get the election in before that so he can get
Again, like I said in the
elected again.
beginning,
Yeah.
like I said in the beginning, everybody has their own
Right.
motivating
Well,
factors for
it's
what
their
they do.
jobs. It's
It's
they like so of course like and I don't fault any of like I don't fault the mainstream media or the social media platforms for trying to get your attention in those ways because they are business and they are trying to make money. That is I just personally that is not a business I would want, but I'm not going to say that what they're doing is wrong. I just don't participate in the mainstream
mhm.
media and that
Well,
kind of thing.
I do to a certain extent think that there's something wrong with it
Okay.
because I would like to have a, a media platform
Hmm.
that didn't just tell me bad. I'd
Yeah.
like to hear I'd like to hear every day some good things that are happening in the world
Yeah.
because I firmly believe and I know because I experience them. Good
Right.
things happen
Yes.
every single day.
All the time.
Big, big good things happen every single day.
Right.
And I don't ever hear that
Hmm.
on the news. And so, in some way, yes, I do fault them because they are one sided.
Right.
You know, it's kind of in the same way, from what I understand about it from my husband, there are certain television stations that are
Yeah. Right
more,
leaning and left leaning and yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that we have one that
Is
there
middle.
there that is middle or does not want to incite fear
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. I would like to see one of those.
Right.
I would like to see even a political person
Right.
who is not after their own agenda that truly, truly, truly cares about the government, cares about the things that we
People.
need.
Yeah.
For example, especially in our country, because that's
Hmm.
where I live,
Right.
in our country, our healthcare is really sick care.
Yeah.
It needs to be taken care of. Our
Hmm.
mental health system
Right.
needs to be taken care of. Our
Right.
homelessness system
Yeah.
situation needs to be taken care of. You
Yeah.
know, it's sad to me that we care more if puppies are left outside than we do if humans are left
Right.
outside.
Right. Yeah.
And that our government wants to make somebody a criminal who doesn't own a home
Right.
and who is homeless. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah.
Like that just makes my heart hurt.
Right.
That makes my heart hurt.
Absolutely.
And that's where I say I do believe, and I don't live in fear of it either, because
Hmm.
I think all of this upheaval that we see in both countries is necessary for good to rise above evil.
Right. For change to be affected for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, it does break my heart.
Hmm.
And luckily, and very gratefully, and with much gratitude, I say that, I do have a home.
Right.
I don't have to worry about where my groceries come from and how my bills are going to be paid. I
Right.
don't have to worry about that. But I can remember back a time in my life when I was a single mom that
Yeah.
if that was now, I would be feeling just as hopeless.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are very quick. We see a lot of people breaking the law. We see a
Right.
lot of break-ins and that kind of stuff. My heart breaks that these are the choices these people have to make.
Right.
I don't think for one second that these are choices most people want to make.
Right. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
true. Yeah.
I don't think most people, when they're 6 years old, say, I want to be a criminal
Right. No, I agree with you.
or
I
say, I
inherently
want to
we're
be,
good. We're
yes.
inherently everybody is good inside, and very often it's trauma and it's circumstances and it's the things that have led to that like you said that it's like the choices that they have to make
And I think it's a
because of
very
that.
sad time in our world when people who are down and out and don't have anything to contribute are
Hmm.
going to be looked at as criminals.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's a very sad day. And
Yeah.
so that's where I do believe that the darkness needs to come before we can see the light.
Right.
And I personally 100% believe that all of this is for us,
Right.
even if I don't know how.
Right. Right. And
And
I want to say, like, because I mean, of course, this is a topic we don't normally talk about because it can be very polarizing, it can be controversial, and we don't want to put more of that into the world. That's essentially what it is. But it is important to talk about. It's also important to talk about what can we do? So what can we do? Because like, I mean, yes, if you're called to become a politician, to run for office, even in a local area and affect a change in that way, go for it. Do
absolutely
that.
do it.
Do that. And we're not saying that, we're gonna think of you as corrupt and all that kind of stuff, because there are good people in the politics too. We just probably don't hear about them either because they're not as loud, right? So the
And
louder
maybe
people,
quite possibly they don't get as far.
right,
I do believe that I would venture to put out there. I believe most people who get into politics
get in there
start
for
out
right,
wanting to help people.
right,
And
right,
it's very much the same as, you know, I honor and respect people who work in the medical field.
right.
And I believe that all of those people, when they started out, they
Yep.
really, truly want to help people.
100%.
100% they want to
Yep.
help people. But the system has sucked all that out of them.
Right.
And I think that's the same situation that happens
Because they get
in our
overworked, they don't have
in
enough
our
resources. They
political
don't, yeah,
climate. There has
yeah,
been so much garbage
yeah.
that it has sucked
The
the good
life out of
down that
people.
we
Yeah.
don't see it.
Yeah.
And good people are not wanting to get into
Well, they get
that
tired.
cesspool.
Yeah, you get tired, right? Like that's what a lot of like if you're always feeling like you're fighting against that system and fighting against and like you're really trying to do something and you feel
Yeah.
like you're the only person doing it. And so that's another thing too is right, is try to see where it is that you can help out. What things can you do? And then when we get even more into the spiritual side and that aspect is even affect like how you're looking at things, what you can do with, even energetically, like how
Yeah.
you can do things and how you approach people in the world, how you approach people, what when like you said, if there's somebody who is homeless person or an unhoused person that how do you treat them? What is it that how do you feel about them? What is it that you're doing?
Hmm.
And what kind of judgments do you hold? Those are things that you can do inside yourself to
Right.
see
And
how
I
you can
think
do it.
for most of us, we can give them respect.
Right.
And we can, even if within ourselves, even if we say nothing to
Right.
them, even within ourselves to know, but for the grace of whatever in our life,
Hmm.
it could be us.
Right. I always
Because
say, but for one choice, that could be me.
one choice, it could be
Yeah.
them, it could be
Yeah.
you. And it's the same situation. I like to point out, even though I don't like to talk about politics and I don't
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
lot of respect for our political climate and our politicians, but I do believe there's hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I can do is
Yes.
pour hope into it,
Yes.
whether it's through prayer, whether it's through meditation and
Right.
sending healing energy,
Yep.
because I do believe 100% that the universe is working for us.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes bad things have to happen for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I believe that the only way change is going to come is if this happens.
Right.
And
Yeah,
we pay attention to it for enough people to decide, no, this isn't the kind of government I want.
exactly.
So they
Exactly.
will say, no. How about
Yes.
no?
Yeah. For sure.
How about no?
Exactly. Exactly. That's
You know,
exactly it.
if enough people, and I hope everybody listening to my voice now can say, no, it is not okay for
Mhm.
people experiencing homelessness to be looked at as criminals. Not
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Not okay.
Yeah.
You know, it is not okay for us to ignore mental health.
Right.
It is not okay.
Yeah.
And we need more people standing up for what is not okay.
Yeah.
And that's how I believe, anyway, our government will change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look forward to a future that looks like that, that
Right.
has a
And I
different
think it's possible.
system. I know it's possible, right? We know it's possible. I can feel it. I know it. I know it's there.
Yeah.
We have to stand up and stand together. And, our voices are powerful when we're speaking together, and then we won't feel so much alone when
Right.
we're doing that. So yeah.
And to any politicians who may hear us, please put your agenda down and think about the people.
Yeah.
Think about the people who vote you in.
Yeah.
Period. At the
Yeah.
end of that sentence.
I saw a thing yesterday saying, and it felt really good to me, is making money fr from other people's benefit. So things that other people benefit from. So even in the political thing, getting your paycheck from being a benefit to other people, like by
Right.
doing good change and having that kind of thing, and having that new energy of
Yeah.
flow for that. And so,
And I think
yeah.
that is what we need to see. For
Hmm.
me, when I look into it, I do think we need a new energy.
Hmm.
The old way of doing government isn't working.
Yeah.
And that's why it's falling apart.
Yeah.
And I don't think our neighbors
Yes. To the
have
south. Yeah.
necessarily chosen the best new way of doing things.
Right.
But that's just
But
my
but
opinion.
this also can also, in my opinion, it also will wake more people up. The
Yeah.
more that you shine the shadows, the more people go like, no, this is real. Like
And
they'll get to that point.
there's a big freaking shadow when
Yes.
every conversation is
And
about,
even we don't even live in the US. So like
yeah.
when we're talking about it too, when the world is talking about it too,
And it saddens me. It makes me sad that it's it's not about bringing people together.
hmm
It's not about loving people.
right,
It's not about kindness. It's about hate.
right,
It's about separation.
right.
That's not the change I want to see.
Hmm.
I want to see the change that brings us together.
Right,
How can we all cohesively work together
right.
for a better world?
Hmm.
And I don't hear that.
Right.
I wish I did.
Well, and we know that it can happen. It's there as a choice.
Yeah.
And I think the more that people choose that, the more that we will see it. It'll start showing up. And so the more we choose it every day, and in our little pockets of what we can do and what we can affect, we'll see that more and more.
Yeah. I
That's what I
think if
believe.
I were not 65 years old, and maybe that's my call out to the younger people who possibly want a world that is not like this one, make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
I can't start a new career.
Why not? You have three different ones right now that you're doing. You never know.
I don't foresee a political career,
Oh, that.
mostly too it's because of this thing.
Yeah.
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 I don't only say politically correct things out of my
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very careful.
Yes. Hey.
But for those people who can bring change, step out, do that, bring change, because this is not good.
Yeah.
It is good, but not good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
whatever
make
that
different
looks like.
choices. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anything else, buddy, or
No,
is that
I
gonna
was
be
gonna
it
say
for
I think
today?
that's it for our controversial most controversial video that we've probably ever put out there, only because it's like it's a topic that we're not we're not we're uncomfortable. We experience uncomfortable emotions, but it is necessary. It is, as you said, the elephant in the room. We don't want to be those people that just stick our heads in the sand. We are living life, and this is what this is about, life chats.
And I think we're supposed to live our truth. And
Right.
as I did hear something from Marianne Williamson
Hmm.
this week that really spoke to my soul. And she said, it's a time for good people to stand up and say when something is not good.
Right.
And so maybe this is part of it, is
Hmm.
that it's a time for people who don't normally talk about politics
Right. To tell our
to
opinions.
stand up and say, this is not
Yeah.
what we want. This
Right.
is not the kind of country that I want to live in. It's
Right.
not the kind of country that I want to leave to my grandchild
Right.
and bring change.
Right.
So it is the time for all of us to step up and say what we don't want and what we do want.
Right.
And I don't want this kind of country.
Yeah.
I don't want this kind of political climate.
Yeah. Energetically, we put ourselves like, yes, we don't want it because that's the contrast. And then we turn ourselves towards what we do want and let's
Yeah.
start doing that. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
so
thanks
yeah.
for listening to our uncomfortable topic today that
Yes.
we didn't want to talk about but did.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. It was exactly what's needed and exactly what we needed to do and share our stuff, but
Next time we're going to talk about something light and fluffy. Can we talk about unicorns or something? Because just
sure. I
something
love
light and
unicorns.
fluffy.
We can tell the story about unicorns too. We can tell lots of different things for sure. We could do that. So yeah, so I'll just I guess we'll sign off and we'll say thanks for listening. Thanks for, as people say, commenting, sharing, following, all of that stuff. If you know people who you think that would like to hear this, share it with them. Uh, you
Don't
know,
send us hate mail.
hey, whatever. Um, but yeah, and
Okay, send them to Bunny.
and where are you going to send that? To ataboveandbeyond@gmail.com. You can also visit us on our website, ataboveandbeyond.com, to see what we're up to next. So we have life chats. We do the things with our books. We do a whole bunch of different things. We don't even know where we're going, but we're going to keep on going forward with whatever spirit is telling us to do. You can follow us on Facebook, on Spotify, on TikTok, on YouTube. Watch everything everywhere. Comment, comment, like, share. And yeah, see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.